news and notes we got to talk about. Padres baseball off to a shaky start, if you will, when it comes to the overall record of a Cactus League season. Does anybody care? I'm here to tell you shouldn't care. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, especially right now with not the entire team participating yet, without, you know, players getting 3 at bats, without most of the starters playing. I know yesterday seemed like a day that was going to have, some starters go. I know Sam Levitt tweeted out that it was yesterday was like, oh, this could be opening day roster. I'm sorry. I mean, if that's the opening day roster for the San Diego Padres, the opening day lineup, oh boy. I'm not looking forward to that. With each coming day, it seems like they are totally content with having Jackson Merrill start in the outfield. It's not a problem. Again, we talked about this during the week. I don't know why nobody in the media has said it at these scrums. And maybe they will. But it doesn't matter about Jackson Merrill whether or not he can play the outfield. Because he can. He's a shortstop by trade. It's not a crazy task to ask him to play in the outfield. And I'm not worried about that. You just had a center fielder that could play in the outfield. He couldn't hit, and you sent him to New York. His name is Trent Grisham. I care more about whether or not Jackson Merrill can keep up with a major league fastball. I care more about whether or not Jackson Merrill can hit that big league slider or that big league changeup or that big league curveball. I want to know if Jackson Merrill can come out, go on a nice run, maybe to start his career. When Major League Baseball adjusts to Jackson Merrill, can he adjust back? You're putting a lot of pressure on this kid to be a stud. And I think he's going to be good. But can we pump the brakes on Jackson Merrill for a little bit? Not that we don't think he can accomplish what we've been talking about, but just on the fact that it's not fair to him, a kid that hasn't played anything higher than AA ball, to just assume he was going to be an all-star in the outfield. And I don't think a lot of people really think that, but it seems to be the narrative the way we're covering this guy out in Arizona. Let's like kind of temper our expectations a little bit on Jackson Merrill and Graham Pauley and, anybody else but Jacob Marcy. I mean, it's great. I think they're going to be great players. Good job for the Padres rebuilding the farm system. Good on the Padres for having some young talent. It's still a year away, but let's pump the brakes. The starting lineup yesterday was Fernando, Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Hassan Kim, Luis Camposano, Jackson Merrill, Eggy Rosario, Jose Azocar, and your starting pitcher is Pedro Avila. Ignore the pitcher part because they're going to get a lot of guys reps. It's not going to match up all the time with your quote-unquote opening day lineup. And this is not a knock on Sam. I mean, I think he's onto something with this. Could be your opening day lineup for the San Diego Padres. But if that's your opening day lineup, man, it's a lot different than it was last year. Although, if you start looking at it, the bottom half's not as much different. But you're really asking Merrill, Rosario, and Azocar to be maybe more than they can be in 2024. Top five's fine. I'm sure they're going to go in multiple orders of that. Those guys are on the team. Those guys are everyday starters. That's not really that big of a problem. Same with Camposano. I think Camposano's going to have a good year. I think Bogaerts is going to have a bounce back year. Manny seems like he's in a way better place this spring training than he was last spring training. All these guys don't have to deal with the World Baseball Classic. I think Tatis is going to have a good year. But as much as I think all of those guys are going to have great seasons for the Padres, I don't know. I mean, To have your philosophy be we're going to have our stars carry the team after it didn't work last year, it's hard to just go, well, it's kind of a fluke. Let's just go out there and do it again. They really need some help. They need a couple placeholders. We've been talking about that ad nauseum. I'm tired of throwing names out. More power to Craig Elston, who continues to do that. I'm not going to be participating in that anymore because it doesn't really matter. And it's not on the guy's trying to help us out. He's doing it, and it's tough right now talking about the Padres and like seeing all of these players get signed by other organizations that are going for cheap. And you're going, Padres couldn't have this guy? We've talked to some of the Padres people, and some of those players don't really fit the org. I think that was the case for Aaron Hicks, which is fine. Tommy Pham has had interest in coming back. I don't know why you don't ask him to come back at this point in time. I don't want to get really desperate, but I don't see a scenario where the lineup that they had yesterday is going to be super successful throughout the year, because there is going to be an adjustment period for those young guys, even if they're really good. And the other thing too is I'm tired of talking about, it's like, well, Fernando Tatis Jr. did it. No offense to Jackson Merrill. He's not Fernando. He's not. I hope he is. That'd be great. But he's not. He's not Fernando Tatis Jr. I think baseball fans in general have been spoiled by these young stars coming through the ranks and starting and playing at a very young age, that we have just all assumed that's a common occurrence. Ronald Acuna Jr. did it, and Bryce Harper and Ozzie Albies, and you can start listing all these guys that are currently in Major League Baseball. That doesn't mean every 20-year-old can go up there and make an impact. Just be careful with Jackson Merrill, because the last thing you want to do is he makes the team because he's competing with Jose Azocar and Eggy Rosario, and he's competing with, and I got the roster in front of me, Tucupita Marcano, and he's competing with Oscar Mercado, and he's competing with, Jacob Marcy and Tisa Ornelas and Robert Perez Jr. and Cal Mitchell. I mean, is he better than those guys? Yeah, but does being better than those players say he needs to be on the Major League roster and needs to be starting? They keep talking about, I mean Mike Schilt and the Padres front office and, all of these members of the Padres that are really, giving Jackson Merrill a chance, which I think is fine. I think that's fair. That said, we're going to give him an opportunity. We're giving a lot of other guys opportunities. And if he earns his way on the team, he will be on the team. But what does it mean by earning your way on the team right now? He's not competing with other like everyday Major League Baseball players that are proven. They already don't want Profar to be an everyday starter, which I think is the right move. I think Profar off the bench is probably a lot better for the Padres than Profar starting every day in left field. But the difference is, it's not like Jackson Merrill earned his way on a club with 3 or 4 free agent outfielder pickups that you grabbed to make the team better, and he outplayed them, and now all of a sudden you have to cut one of these guys. He might make the team just by default because he's better than Jose Azocar and Tucupita Marcano, who you already got rid of one time, who just got DFA'd by the Pirates, and that's why you picked him up. He's better than Oscar Mercado. He's better than Jacob Marcy and Cal Mitchell and Tisa Ornelas. He better be. He's a first-round draft pick. So I really think the Padres need to think about trying to bring some guys in. And I know a lot of it has to do with the market.